Well, he certainly left in a hurry, didn't he? Such a shame, too. I was only just starting to have my fun. Oh, but I suppose he couldn't make it too easy for me now, could he? After all, then I might get bored a bit too quickly. So instead, once I said that it was my turn to use you for a little warmth, he left, claiming that he really needed to hunt so that you could eat. A plausible excuse, I suppose. After all, from what I've heard, humans do need to eat more often than we do. Your digestive system, it can't handle too much food at once. Not nearly enough to keep you sated for weeks on end. And even if you could handle that much food, your metabolism is much faster than ours, so you would digest it especially quickly. After all, nowadays you don't need to wait around for your next meal. Most of you always have access to food. So maybe he wasn't lying about needing to hunt, but he certainly didn't need to get it done right away. Oh, come on. Don't look so nervous without him around. Do you really think I'm going to hurt you? You know that I won't? Then why do you look scared half to death? Oh, I see. Even though you know that I won't hurt you, you're still nervous. I suppose that does make sense. After all, I have heard that that's rather common with humans. Although you know something isn't realistic, isn't plausible, isn't logical, you might still be afraid of it. For example, one might fall asleep in their house. Everything might be perfectly fine, but as they're drifting off to sleep, they begin to wonder, what if the gas main blows? What if as soon as I close my eyes, as soon as I'm vulnerable, there's an explosion, and I can't get out of my house? What if my house is destroyed and I die in my sleep? It's highly unlikely. It doesn't make much sense to be afraid of it. But some people are scared of it anyway. Is that similar to what you're experiencing now? That's exactly what you're experiencing. How very interesting. Well then, how about I take your mind off of it? How will I do that? You kissed my best friend earlier, and you didn't say whether or not you loved him. He clearly seems to love you. After all, he said as much. So tell me, you said that you wanted to kiss him to see if it felt right. Did it? You don't know. And how come? You don't know what it feels like when it does feel right. Forgive me for asking this, or don't, it's up to you. But is this the first relationship you've ever attempted to enter? Oh, I see. Well, if you have very minimal experience with something like this, that would certainly make it difficult to tell whether or not something feels right. Let's start with a little bit of guidance then, shall we? Did it feel like it made you uncomfortable? Not at first. And what do you mean by that? Oh, really? You were comfortable with it until you saw me watching you? Well, that certainly makes sense. After all, nobody wants a stranger gawking at them while they're kissing someone. So aside from when you realized that I was watching you, did you feel comfortable otherwise? You did? And tell me, is there anything you can compare that feeling to? Perhaps, did it feel like Getting into bed and finally resting after a long day? Or perhaps it felt exciting, like trying something new and absolutely loving it. For instance, a new flavor of ice cream. It felt like both. At any point did you feel nervous or afraid? Right before you did it. And do you know why that is? You were uncertain about how he would react. Well, that's perfectly reasonable. After all, not everyone reacts so positively when they're kissed without warning. Oh, don't look so guilty for kissing him without asking. Under normal circumstances, I would certainly be lecturing you about that. However, with Nagisa, he isn't the type of person you can really ask about those things. You see, if you were to have asked him before, he would have been a stuttering, flustered mess. He wouldn't have been able to say yes or no. In fact, I don't think he would have even been able to nod or shake his head in response. So if anything, you just saved him some unnecessary heart palpitations. Oh, believe me, I'm being completely serious. He's only been kissed one other time before, and it was by someone he certainly didn't care for. And his reaction to that was far different from his reaction toward when you kissed him. The reaction he gave you? He was flustered and certainly shocked, but it wasn't a bad thing. He was surprised that he was getting something he wanted from the person he wanted. Does that make sense? Good. Now, I suspect that he'll be getting home soon, so there's something I want to say to you, and I need you to listen very, very closely. Understood? Good. Now, Nagisa and I, we've been friends for years. Since we were hatchlings, actually. We survived together when we were younger. We hunted together. We took turns keeping watch at night so we wouldn't get attacked by predators. We looked out for each other. We had each other's backs. Truth be told, neither one of us would be here if it weren't for the other. Why am I telling you this? We've grown together, like two twisted trees, tangling around each other, trying to reach toward the light so we could continue to live. We're like family now, like brothers. So his well-being and his best interests are very near and dear to my heart, as I'm certain you can imagine. After all, you are willing to sacrifice your freedom for your family. You are willing to give up everything from the life you previously knew. So I want you to tell me what you would do if someone hurt someone in your family for fun or without even caring. What would you do? You would want to rip them to pieces? I'm glad we're on the same page then. What do you think I mean? I understand that feelings can't be forced. I understand that you will need to tell Nagisa if you don't love him the way he loves you. And I won't be upset by that. Sure, he won't be happy about it. But as long as you are kind, he will be understanding, and he will take no for an answer. I know that about him. But you listen to me. If you take his heart, and you stomp on it, if you are insincere and unkind in telling him that your feelings for him are not the same, Or worse, if you lie to him only to break his heart later. Or if you do love him, and you break his heart because you fall out of love with him. You said you would rip the person who hurt your family to shreds. Or at least you would want to. You are held back, though. By laws. By rules invented by human society. I, however, am not. So if you hurt him, for fun or without caring, think about all the things that I would do to you to make certain that you feel the same pain you inflict on him. Oh no, no, no. It isn't a threat at all. It's a promise. I don't care how you feel about him. If you love him or you don't, you treat him the way he deserves to be treated. You understand me? Good. Then we shouldn't have any issues in the future. If we do, well, it will depend on what those issues are. After all, if you and I simply have a disagreement, I'm certain Nagisa will be eager to defend you. I'll let him play the part of the hero if you don't mind. I won't hurt you. Not someone he cares about so deeply. But if the issue arises that you've hurt him emotionally or physically, you already know the outcome for that. And if you try to run from it, I will easily be able to hunt you down like I hunted your family. And, speaking of your family, I can still track their scent. So if you don't value your own life, know this. If you come after my family, as soon as I'm through with you, I will go after yours. So think twice before you ever consider breaking my dear brother's heart. Do you understand me?
Sorry that I took so long. Believe me, I had no intention of leaving you unattended with karma for... Why do you look like that? Why do you look scared almost to death? Karma? What the hell did you say to them?